application security using GitHub actions. So a little about me. I work at Goku. I'm a software engineer and I mostly worked on Java, Spring, Angular, Node.js tech stack in AWS and Kubernetes environments. And sometimes, occasionally, I write my work sufferings on my blog, so do check it out. So now the purpose of this talk, like why do we need application security and what problem does it exactly solve? So what usually happens in organizations and in a normal developer workflow is that we do the planning, development, testing, building, making sure that QA tests are built, and it goes all the way to production. Then if something breaks, we actually come to know it at a very later stage. So now what happens because of this is that now the security error could be due to various reasons, and developers usually are the last people to know that when it's already in prod. So what happens is that it can already lead to is that once we know the security error, the damage is already done, whether it be in terms of business loss or it be the damage to a company's integrity or reputation. And the developers are usually the ones who actually face the flag. So what ideally should happen to make it a little bit less painful is that we should include the security aspect during the development and QA testing itself. It's not that we developers don't want to do it. It's just that when we have a lot of strict, tight deadlines, and when there is a person coming like, please make this work, and just like put it and ship it, security is usually very last. And at that time you're just trying to think like, just please work and just go in production and let it work. So what are the challenges which most of the times like people and companies have tried to implement, and how GitHub helps in solving this problem? So one problem is that we are already looking at a lot of dashboards. So whether be it IDE or MySQL Workbench or browser or whatever, but having another dashboard is just adding fuel to the fire. It's like you don't want to look at another dashboard, another thing to look at, and another thing to cross it off from a list of things which we have to implement. The other pain is, does anyone here know the concept of on-call or on-rotation? Oh, okay, no. Oh, okay. So, in short, if I have to explain on-call, it's that once you start working in an organization and you are also responsible for a short amount of time, be it 1 week or 2 week sprint, if anything breaks in prod, you are supposed to find out what the issue is. Not exactly supposedly suggest a fix. Not fix it there itself, but suggest the fix. So you have to invest your time in it. And it's a responsibility, one of the responsibilities of a developer. So what happens is that the ideal reality is you will get a river of alerts. Like you will get a lot of alerts which you have to look within that stream if anything breaks. So some alerts will just be false positive. Like it will show it as an alert, but it will not really be a bug. But the developer has already invested a lot of time and mental effort in it.
That Spring was there.
So you don't want to put the security aspect as an alert or to know. And the other part is security patch. If it does come, if you do find out the security patch, but it comes too late, and by that time the damage is already done. So how does GitHub help in solving this problem and what it can do for developers? So GitHub does this by embedding the security flow during the PR stage. I hope everyone knows what's a PR. Yes. So one thing is that why you want to introduce it in the PR stage. So first point is that you can, even if you somehow miss the security aspect when you're doing your development or local testing, your code is actually reviewed by other developers. You will get that feedback. But what if even they miss it? So there should be something to help the developer and the reviewers itself, right? So they want to know that this is an alert. So when the code review or something does happen, and if there is an alert, so both of them are aware and both of them can at least discuss and come to a solution. And you are actually detecting and remedying the vulnerabilities even before any new code is introduced in the main branch. So GitHub does this by doing code scanning, dependency scanning, and secret scanning. We'll see that in a short demo. On how does it actually look? So to give a short intro on what is CodeQL, it is GitHub's own GitHub security engine. So what it will actually do is that it will treat that code as data and query it against a list of vulnerabilities. It will check across the database. They have their own database. They call it GitHub advisory. They also check against other advisories. But this is what this is what CodeQL does at the build time. And the other thing is depend-about alert. Now imagine a scenario where you are already in the organization and there are applications running. So you don't know, there are a lot of repos. So what happens is that you don't know which security patch will come. Like it might be in a specific version, but unless you are responsible for it, you will not be responsible for other applications. You will not know their versions or which security patch it is. And by the time you actually sit and hunt across it, one person alone cannot do it. So depend-about is something where it comes where it's useful, where it automatically creates those PRs. It can actually show you and it will bump up the versions for you and create that PR. So at least you are saving the time and effort to find out what the issue is and focusing on whether it should be included or not. Okay. The other part is secret scanning. If you all have used API tokens like GitHub API tokens or Google API tokens, so in those tokens, like ideally in an organization, you don't put them on the application itself. You would never put them on plain text. So that is like no. Ideally, what organizations do is they use GitHub secrets, or they use something vault management, or like they use a secret management tool like Vault. But what if by chance there was a very old developer who wrote that code? He was not aware of all this. Then what do you do? Like we are not going to sit and hunt the repos. No one wants to do that. So this is where if there is already some old code present, secret scanning will actually help and show you how to, like, which ones are already present, which ones are invalid. So it gives you an overview. Okay. So let's see demo. Now, okay. So one thing is that for the purpose of this demo, I have already. I hope you can see the screen, or is it too big?
Can you expand a bit? Let me see if I can.
Okay, ideally how you enable security. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'll continue. So ideally how you enable security settings is that you go to code security and analysis. Now there are a lot of stuff in this. Ideally you should just, for your safety, as a developer safety, you should enable everything. But the main ones, the useful ones are this depend-about alert, the code scanning, and the secret scanning. Now in code scanning is the one where I'll show a bit more on demo, where it shows a basic and advanced. So what does depend-about do? So in depend-about, if you already have an existing application and you want to see what alerts it does show, it will already give you an overview. And this is useful for existing applications, and in an organization there are like 1 or 2 security people. So you might, the next question it might come like, it must be their job, right? Why are we responsible to do this? So the point is security is everyone's responsibility, but you don't want to add another task for the developers, but you want to make them aware. So at least they know what to look for. They don't want to again bug the security person and be like, please check for security errors. So this is to make developers aware. So what it does, that you can already know the versions. It will tell you the impact and the patches. And this is one of the most useful things which GitHub does, is that it will give you the score and on what basis it shows the severity. This is the standard which is used in organizations. So you don't have to sit and worry about whether this information is correct or no. It will also tell you which weaknesses it uses, which weaknesses are actually detected by this. So that's one thing. Okay, and the other thing. So moving on to code security and analysis, where the code analysis actually happens, is that this part where you can set it up. Now if I click here, it will take a little bit of time to show, but I will just show the YAML file of what it actually does. Does everyone know GitHub Actions here?
Yeah.
True, right? Very less audience.
How many?
Yeah.
How many don't know GitHub Actions?
Okay, how many don't know GitHub Actions?
Let's think out. Cybersecurity doesn't know GitHub Actions. Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Just give the one-liner, right? What is it?
Okay. So one liner would be is that it is a list of file in a YAML file where you can actually use it for your help for automation to deployment, and you can, the main power of this is you can customize it, and you can use the third-party applications also. You have to just be very careful with the YAML file because it's a one-time config pain, but it's worth it. So main focus for us is at least on this branch, like on what action you want to enable the code scanner. So on push to on the main branch, or to pull request to the main branch, and when you want to run this. So yeah, I have already edited the file because this takes a little bit of time. So I'm just going to, what I'm going to do is going to do a little bit of trial and error here. I will try making the feature branch, but I'm hoping the gods of demo literally are merciful on me and this works. But if it doesn't work, I have a backup plan. This works. Literally. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Like, I'm going to try so that there is no awkward silence here. Either everyone understood everything or no one understood anything. So just imagine a scenario here, because here you would be like why is this file here and why we are adding? Like, this is like something I don't want to do. But trust me, when there is a fear of deadline over you and you have to submit something, this is really helpful. So ideally we create the pull request, add some description, testing, whatever you do for others to know. Okay. Create the pull request, and I hope this works. Okay, it doesn't. Sad. Sad.
Works?
No. Let me try another one.
So this is the demo time when everything stops working.
Yeah. Very painful. I use a demo and still it doesn't work. Something.
So what are you running? Depend about?
No, this is code scan. So it runs via the GitHub Actions. So the only thing is it never just moved to me out. scanning. So that is nice. Okay. So it is running the scanning, but I have made it to the okay. So this is what CodeQL is. It does it on compile time. So when you push the build, and it makes it is where you have running a lot of series of tests, and this is where it performs this analysis. If I want to show a useful thing here, at some point of time you will see a list of queries where it checks the series which weakness it is actually checking for. So this is the GitHub advisory that it uses, and let this thing run, but it will take a little bit of more time. Let's see. So ideally what should happen is that once the build runs, is that it will give you this alert. This alert is where this is visible to the code reviewers and as well as to the developer, and what you can do. Now these are very common alerts, but if there is something which is very high level in which you are not aware of, that also it does show. One of the useful things which I did like about this is that it gives you the source. So most of the times we don't know whether the information which is presented to us is valid or not. So GitHub does that one job, that it will show you the advisory, and this is how do I say? 1 second. I will show one which is here. This will also show there was one with the security tab. So it will give you this alert, and it will show the information here, and you can actually click on the other view source, and it will show there is a CWE website, which is the official website, but I'm not sure which error this is, so I don't want to waste time here. Okay, the PR. Sure. And that comes. Sure. Okay, so this is one thing which seems a very minor detail, but when you get a comment saying ki where is this affected, please find it out, you are left across searching a lot of files and where it is infected. So this is one thing which GitHub does really nicely, is data flow from source to destination, where that particular variable has been used and where it is affected. So getting this view is really nice, and it's very useful when it comes to PR review. Okay. The other part is this secret scanning. Oh, 1 second. Wrong repo. No, my phone. And this is one part of secret scanning, where it actually shows these are invalid tokens. This is where it will show if there are invalid tokens in your very old repos, old code bases, then it shows which ones are invalid. And yes, any question about that?
So, right. If I've already set up a pipeline in GitHub Action, so at what part does the GitHub security come in? While generating a PR and then accepting that PR, in between that does the scanning?
So every time when you push the code
Yeah.
to the to the repo,
Yeah.
based on that actions on the YAML file,
Yeah, on push main.
yeah, on push and main.
Yeah.
So every time when you push that code, it will do it automatically. Every time on compile time.
Okay.
So every time it is creating a new build.
Okay.
Yeah. And to the developer, it will show you at this stage. One second. You can see these checks where it will show the build, and here it is all show all checks. So it will keep once you push every new code into the branch, it will always run this code QL scan, and it will make every time create a build, and it will show you the details. So here, if there is something terrible happening, it will actually give you the alert on every push.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Right now, my code, when I push the code, it directly gets deployed.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
on what part does the security feature come in? That
on,
was actually.
on PR check, on
Okay.
code request.
Okay.
I hope there are
Yeah.
checks here. Okay, and that's fine. Okay. And it will automatically create these PRs. So on versions, I have somewhere, but that is where you get the list and description, where you don't have to hunt. So that's a little bit about my demo. That's it. And sorry, any questions?
Done, right?
Yeah. Thank you just to my small friends who were kind enough to give me feedback, and
Who are the small friends? Please stand.
there was only one of you here.
Please stop
who was
it now.
kind enough to give me this whole
Shall I stop it now?
organization
It's done.
for demo and testing. So do check that out also. Thank you.
Sorry, who is this?